So what happens when the people who complain the loudest about an organization actually end up running it? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating case study playing out at the Shoalhaven Council in New South Wales, where a pretty strange paradox is unfolding. It all really kicks off with a leaked recording. On it, you can hear two prominent local figures just letting loose on the council, calling the staff discourteous and lazy bureaucrats. They were really positioning themselves as outsiders, the voice of the people, fighting against a system they saw as broken.
But here is the major plot twist. Fast forward to today, and those two critics, get this, they now hold the two most powerful jobs in the very organization they were attacking. Patricia White is now the mayor, and Andrew Constance is the new CEO.
So, the big question, right, is how on earth did these vocal critics end up in charge? This whole switch from complaining on the sidelines to being in control of the game, well, it's raised a lot of eyebrows and it's even triggered an official investigation.
And yeah, make no mistake, this isn't just some small-town rumor mill. The way the new CEO was appointed has become so controversial that it's now officially being investigated by the New South Wales Office of Local Government.
Okay, so let's really dig into the appointment itself, because how it all went down is really at the heart of this whole controversy. It's all about process, and maybe more importantly, perception.
Here's the play-by-play, according to the reports. First, the mayor decided to chair the selection panel herself. Then, she declared what's known as a non-significant conflict of interest. And finally, when the vote was split right down the middle, she used her deciding vote to give the CEO job to Andrew Constance.
And this is where things get really tricky. You see, the Local Government Act is super clear about this stuff. It says councillors have to avoid not just an actual conflict of interest, but even the appearance of one. It's all about how things look to the public.
And that perception problem, it's really fueled by the fact that, look, the mayor and her new CEO are no strangers. They have a well-known political alliance that goes back more than 2 decades. In fact, she's even supported his political campaigns in the past.
Now, some of the analysis we're looking at here suggests these aren't just random, one-off events. They're seen as fitting into a much bigger picture, a kind of governing strategy that's been called a populist playbook. So what's in this playbook? Well, it's described as having 3 main moves. First, you attack the experts and the old way of doing things. Second, you praise the people and act as their only true champion. And third, you control the narrative. You control the message coming from the council at all costs.
Want a perfect example of this in action? Let's talk about the council's controversial new tree policy. Just look at the difference here. The old way required an application and an inspection by an expert arborist. The new policy? None of that. It just relies on a contractor's say-so, and the council doesn't even keep a record. It's viewed as a textbook case of sidelining expert oversight.
And it doesn't stop there. Another decision that really got people talking was the super narrow vote, 7-6, to reject a local bioenergy project. The official reason given was traffic concerns. But here's the thing, the reports point out that no detailed traffic study was ever actually done. So it left a lot of people feeling like politics, not evidence, was driving that decision.
So okay, we've talked about the politics and the process, but what does all of this actually mean on the ground? What are the tangible impacts? Well, the reports point to some pretty serious costs, both for the council's wallet and for the community itself. Let's start with the money. The cost just to recruit 3 senior executives, reportedly more than $300,000. And while that money was being spent on hiring, a council-wide restructure made around 50 staff positions redundant. On top of that, reports show the mayor's own spending on travel and accommodation over her 12 years on the council has now topped $500,000.
But the costs aren't always on a spreadsheet. I mean, independent research warns that when you make cuts like these, there are huge hidden consequences. You erode years of what's called corporate knowledge. All that experience just walks out the door. And then what happens? You become more and more reliant on expensive external contractors down the line.
And then, of course, there's the human toll. The reports describe a real collapse in staff morale and a flatlining of public trust. In fact, the council's own surveys show that resident satisfaction is kind of stuck at a pretty mediocre 3.3 out of 5, and it hasn't improved in years.
So, with all this going on, how is the community reacting? Well, that brings us to our final section, the growing calls for some real accountability.
The main form of public pushback right now is a formal petition. It's calling on the councilors to officially censure the mayor for the way she handled the CEO's appointment.
And this isn't just a handful of people. As of the latest report, that petition had already gathered 224 signatures from residents.
And just so we're all on the same page about what this means, a censure motion is basically a formal public slap on the wrist. It's the council going on the record to say, we disapprove of this conduct. It's a symbolic but powerful tool. It does not, however, remove a person from their office.
And that leaves us with this fundamental question that goes so much further than just one town. At the end of the day, what should guide a city? Should it be the power that comes from winning an election, that mandate? Or should it be the discipline of following a fair and transparent process? That's really the question at the heart of it all.